Storm. A deck archetype in MTG across all formats that is notorious for being flashy, relentless, and expensive. You play spells that make mana, then you play spells that draw you cards until you can finish opponents with one big spell. While the namesake of the archetype, Storm, refers to the mechanic that involves recasting a spell or copying it as many times as you've played prior spells on that turn, the Storm archetype now refers to any strategy involving chaining off spells one after the other in one big explosive turn. It is almost always associated with the color combination Izzet or Grixis, which involves black, as these are the colors that have access to the most consistent card draw in rituals. This archetype is usually seen in formats like Modern and Legacy, but every once in a while you'll run into Kess Dissident Mage, Niv Mizzet the Parun, or Gormella Glamour Thief that's trying to pull off Storm in the 100 card format that is Commander. And because it's a 100 card singleton format, it involves a bunch of expensive tutors and rituals that would bankrupt your average student. They usually all end up finishing the game with the same combos that every experienced EDH player has already seen a million times. But what if I told you something was missing? What if you could make a Storm deck in mono green for less green and less greed because our commander is a steed? That's right, I'm talking Super Saver Seton Storm. While you might usually think of green as elf ball tokens or Big Stumpy, we're taking mono green and turning it into a dude tornado. A Storm deck where we aren't casting a dark ritual and a grape shot. We're gonna cast a dark horsey, take our hand, and
drop it like it's hot.
Seton costs green for a 2/2 legendary centaur creature that reads, tap an untapped druid you control to add a green to your mana pool. Now you might be thinking, that's stupid. A 3-mana 2/2 mana dork that doesn't even have haste? Why would I play this guy? Because he does have haste, stupid. Seton is worded in a way where tapping a druid, including himself, is a cost that doesn't utilize the tap symbol. That means that any druid you play can be used as a 1-mana mana dork at any time, regardless of summoning sickness. Main strategy: play dudes, draw cards, big smack. That's it. That's the 3-step program for clapping commander cheeks. There are 28 creatures in the deck that can tap for mana on their own, and 40 creatures that count as druids that can tap to Seton in total. Most notably, Priest of Titania, Wirewood Channeler, Merowyn the Nurturer, and Elvish Archdruid all add more mana based on how many elves you've played. And 25 of the druids in the deck are also elves. That's more than like 2% of the deck. The big non-elf related druids are ones like Karametra's Acolyte, who will tap equal to your devotion to green. That means with Seton, who has 3 green pips, and Karametra's Acolyte, she taps for 4 mana already, just with those 2 out. And don't even get me started on Werebear. Okay, so we dumped a handful of 1/1 dorks. Now what? Draw cards. We have 15 cards in the deck that will allow you to draw cards whenever you cast a creature, or a creature ETBs, or they'll draw you cards based on how many creatures you have in play already. So as long as you have at least one source of card draw, which should hopefully average out to about 1 per opening hand, your engine will be online. So we're going to be slamming down dorks to draw cards, and then tapping those dorks to Seton to play more dorks to draw more cards. I'm talking Beast Whisper, Soul of the Harvest, Leaf Crown Visionary, Guiltleaf Archdruid, Shamanic Revelation. Oh, did you draw too many lands while whirling up the dude tornado? No problemo. Discard them to Nantuko Cultivator and draw that many cards while you beef that boy up. Zendikar Resurgent is going to make our lands tap for double and draw us a card every time we cast a creature, and it's $4. You, Ristic Study. Speaking of lands, we're only running 32. Why? Because with just 32 lands and all of the mana dorks we have in the deck, we still have more than 60% of the deck able to produce mana, and that's without using our commander. That's just the dorks and the lands. So casting cards is never going to be a struggle with this deck.
Cool, but what happens if somebody wipes the board after we play all these cards?
We do have some backup plans. Well, it's the same plan. We're just gonna do it again. Creeping Renaissance will allow us to grab all of our creatures back from the yard, twice. Eternal Witness will let us grab a key piece back from the yard. And Praetor's Council will allow us to go
Big O mode
and let us pick up our entire graveyard into our hand and remove our hand size for the rest of the game. Cool, but this deck is on a budget. How do we win without Craterhoof Behemoth?
Well, now don't you worry about that. You don't have to be a little baby Bezos to win a game of Commander on a budget unless your brain is as smooth as his head.
There are some awesome cards that are super cheap, and they're going to take our little dorks and beef them up like the Bojacked horseman himself. Ronus's monument is going to discount your creatures, making it easier to chain them off, and each one you do, you're going to effectively be doing 2 more damage that turn if you swing in, because it gives them a +2/+2 buff and trample. Thunderfoot Baloth, Decimator of Provinces, and Overwhelming Stampede are all going to give your creatures a huge pump and give them trample as well, so you're going to be able to swing in to finish at the end of the game. Wait, but Overwhelming Stampede buffs creatures based on your biggest creature. Why not just run Overrun? Hold on, because it's time for Eli's secret sauce. Beastmaster Ascension, Force of Vigor, and Thunderfoot Baloth all provide buffs that stick around past the end of your turn. Not to mention there are still 9+ cards in the deck that will provide enough power for Overwhelming Stampede to be a much better buff than Overrun. These guys that are here for card draw, double as a pumper for Overwhelming Stampede. Merowyn the Nurturer regularly gets above a 5/5, which means you could just tap Merowyn to cast the Overwhelming Stampede, and then Merowyn's power will be the one buffing the Stampede for the rest of your dorks that you didn't have to tap. Remember Nantuko Cultivator? He'll probably be like a 6/6 by the time you cast him because you're going to have a handful of lands that you can't play extra of. Does Nissa seem weird in the deck because we're not running that many lands? If we played Soul of the Harvest this game, we're going to have 10+ force by the time we drop her down, which will make her the biggest finisher of them all. Plus, she's good removal on a stick, and worst case scenario, she can make a giant token so that we have a target for Stampede. And the sneakiest late game threat of them all, Werebear. That's right, you thought I forgot. I didn't. Werebear is the sneakiest sauce in the deck by far, because when your opponents are looking at your board of little 1/1s and 2/2s and they don't see anything big on the field, and they've played against the deck before and they're like, you can just give them +1/+1 or +2/+2. Stampede's not a worry right now. What they're missing is that you have 7 cards in your graveyard, and that Werebear's Threshold ability is active, making him a 4/4. People won't see it coming. They'll do the math. Like Commander players do math. If they did the math, they wouldn't see a threat. He can't one-shot the table. He can't kill me from 40. Werebear. 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 Is someone playing Turbo Fog or a prison style deck? Don't worry about it. There's still one way to make your opponent scoop in salty defeat with this hidden tech. Guiltleaf Archdruid allows you to draw cards. Sweet. But you can also tap 7 untapped druids you control to gain control of target player's lands permanently. All of them. Forever. Just take them home with you after the game. They're yours now. Yoink all the lands of the person who you can't beat through combat, and if they're not scooping, then they just like suffering. They play League of Legends for fun. This deck is just mwah. It's great for getting into Commander if you already have experience playing other formats. It's relatively affordable. As of recording this, it's under $100. The strategy is simple, resilient, and there's tons of room to learn with advanced sequencing of casting your creatures depending on when you need to maximize card draw or mana production. You'll learn how to not overextend into a board wipe, and how to time your big turns and finishing swings the more you play. Just think of the synergies. Play a Fierce Empath to grab yourself a source of card draw. It also makes your Priest of Titania, your Merowyn the Nurturer, your Wirewood Channeler, your Elvish Archdruid all tap for more mana, which then you can use to cast your source of card draw so that when you play your next elf, which will help you tap for more mana, you can draw more cards. Already have card draw? Use it to grab the big finisher that you need. Wild Growth is in the deck even though it's a non-creature spell that doesn't give us the same card draw because it allows for a turn 2 Seton, and it allows some of the dorks that untap lands to tap for essentially 2 mana because they're untapping a land that has the Wild Growth on it. Barhaven Elf grabs you a land for your Zendikar Resurgent and for your Nissa buffs. It's an elf which makes the previously mentioned dorks tap for more. It's a druid that can tap to Seton to make mana or tap for Guiltleaf Archdruid. It's just and there are lots and lots of potential upgrades that'll make the deck run smoother and allow for more explosive plays. You can go so many directions with this as well. You end up making so much mana that you could slap some Genesis Waves and other X spells in there and flip your whole deck onto the table. You could run druids and equipment or artifacts that go infinite with each other that happen to synergize with Seton well. I've brought my souped up Seton deck to CEDH tables and I've taken quite a few games even though I wouldn't consider it to be CEDH powered. So give him a shot. As a genuine man once said, his saddle is waiting. Ride it. Jump on it. Hi, thanks for watching my video. It took way more effort than I thought it was going to do what I wanted to do with it. But if any of you liked it, or anyone saw it, then it was worth my time. So if you don't mind, like, comment, subscribe, send this to anybody who you think might enjoy it. I'd love to make more content like this, but it takes forever, and this was my first time learning how to edit, so I might try some shorter form videos too. Thanks again.